Is it because I left there was an issue?
No, we were trying to go live once again and again, but then somehow I don't know what happened, but it was just not connecting us to that stream again. Anyway, we are live, so yeah. Well, by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Once again, hello and welcome, everyone. I am Nipasa Pradhan. This is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I mean, we were in between a live event just now with Prashanthi Reddy on we're discussing on the topic remote work and immigration, and suddenly there was some glitch. We're sorry about the technical problem that we faced, but we are back again here live. And friends out there, not to worry, we will take up your comments from the previous video. We've got the team, supporting us, so hopefully they are going to back us up, and I'm going to take up your questions. So stay with us, and thank you so much, Prashanti. I mean, for just being so patient, and thank you for staying with us.
No problem. This happens. So technology, blame technology for it.
Yes, all the blame. But yeah, so we were talking about well, remote work, and we were talking about the taxations and the jurisdictional problems also that people face. But more than anything, we were taking up questions from the audience. So
Hmm.
I will get to them. But Prashanti, maybe you could help us. This is Ame Mirza asking that I am an Australian citizen on a tourist visa in the US, and I've been offered a remote job in with a US company. Can I legally work for them while in the US on a tourist visa? And what are the steps that I need to take to transition to a work visa if I need it?
So, if you're an Australian citizen, then you cannot work on a visitor's visa. No one can, no
Mhm,
matter which nationality you belong to. But you have two options. The first option is you can file for an E3,
mhm,
which is a great option actually. So it's similar to a H1. You have to qualify that you are specialty occupation, meaning that your job requires a bachelor's degree in a specific field. And once you
mhm,
do that, what you could do is ask an attorney in the US to prepare, or your employer to prepare the LCA and just a petitioner letter, and take that and go to the consulate, and they will give you an E3 visa. So you don't really have to file a petition with USCIS. You just need to file an LCA, and based on which then they will approve your visa at the consulate. Then you take the visa and come into the US, and then you can legally work on a E3. That's the process for an E3. You can also, of course, file for a H1 next
mhm.
year if that's what you want to do. But an E3 is a really good option.
Awesome. So, Ame, you can also contact us if you have any confusion or if you want more clarification. You can always write to us directly. You can even write to me at nipa@hirightpeople.com or call me in the number 408 I'll be very happy to be able to assist you if in any case. All right, Prashanti, moving on. We also had Anjali Roy asking, I am an Indian citizen working remotely for a UK based company, but my work involves managing a team in the US. Do I need to obtain a US work visa or can I continue working on a UK work visa?
You can continue working on a UK work visa. You do not need to obtain a work visa in the US since you're not physically present in the US. You can manage teams in the US, and that's the way of the world now. Everybody manages teams all over the world. So that's absolutely fine. You don't require any US immigration approvals to do what you're doing.
Oh,
I
sorry,
can't
but
hear
stay
you.
with us.
There you go. Yeah. I couldn't hear you
Okay.
in between.
So we are taking up questions from the previous video. Sorry for the technical difficulty, but I'm so happy we are back again, and hopefully, folks out there, you have joined us. Well, we also had Mustafa asking, "Do I need to file an H-1B amendment if I switch from working for client A to client B, both through employer XYZ, while maintaining the same remote job role and location?"
Yeah, if you're changing your client, uh, so if you're remote, so basically, yeah. So if the location has not changed, if your work location has not changed, but you're still working from home, but your client has changed, you don't really require to file a H-1B amendment. H-1B amendment is required if there is, and since you're still working for the same employer, and if the job description has not changed, very important, meaning your job title has not changed, then it may not be considered to be a material change, and you don't have to file an amendment. But if your work location has changed, meaning you've changed your remote work location, you've changed your address, um, then it might then you definitely have to file an amended petition. Or if you've changed from working as a software developer, for example, to work as systems administrator or something like that, then the prevailing wage will change, because the prevailing wage is based not only on work location but also on the job title. So then you
Mhm.
would have to file a new amended petition, but otherwise you do not.
Okay, and friends out there, you can contact Attorney Prashanthi Reddy. Just dial this hotline number, which we have on the screen, and that is 833-412-8472, and then dial 2. And also, don't forget to email us your questions, help@immigrationtalkshow.com. All right, and we also had more questions, Prashanthi. Let's take them up. This one is from Revati asking, how do tax laws and regulations differ for remote workers compared to traditional employees? And how do these differences impact immigration policies?
Tax laws and regulations differ for and how do they okay, so this is really a tax question. I don't really think I'm qualified to answer about tax laws. um, whatever is the with reference to immigration, whatever is the rule as per IRS, you should follow that, and then USCIS will be happy. So they are just defer to IRS with reference to all tax issues. Like I gave you the example in the previously, um, where the taxes had to be filed in the state that they were working, and USCIS saw that they were not filed. So you're not following tax laws, and they can then deny the petition. So that's the impact. You have to follow what the tax laws are. But with reference to what your tax laws are, with reference, for remote working, that you
Mhm.
need to talk to your accountant.
Okay, okay. And we have folks who have joined us on this stream as well. So I can see Arthur on YouTube asking, I am an Australian citizen working remotely for a UK company, but my work involves collaborating with US based team and occasionally traveling to the US for work. And there's a continuation asking, do I need to comply with US immigration and tax laws? And how do I avoid any potential double taxation issues?
I'm really happy that people are asking questions that are related to the topic, and there's so many questions related to the topic. That really shows the width and breadth of the viewership that we have. Any topic that we choose, there's so many relevant questions that come up, and that makes me really happy. Anyway, that was on a side note. But back to the question. Uh, um, in order to so this person is Arthur, what you're doing is you're predominantly working in the UK, but you're traveling sometimes to the US, maybe to meet up with clients, etc. So it depends on what you're doing in the US and how often you travel. If you're just traveling maybe once a year, even twice a year, and you're only coming here to meet up with your clients or to understand what your clients' requirements are, as long as you're not actually working, you can do that on a B1 visa. So you can get a B1 visa and do that, come in for a short period of time. And you have to be very careful what you do on a B1, because there are things that are allowed and things that are not allowed. You're not allowed to work per se on a B1, but you can meet with clients, you can negotiate with clients, you can sign contracts, you can train, you can understand what the requirements of your client are. You can't actually do the work. So, other than this, anything else that you do would be considered to be work. You can attend conferences, etc., etc. Uh, so, being on a B1, you are not really working in the US, so you will not be taxed in the US. So, there are no tax issues or potential double taxation issues when it comes to coming to the US on a B1. But if
Mhm.
you come in on, if you actually have to do work, and if it is for a longer period of time, then again you need to get an accountant. You need to get a H1 most probably to start off with, or some other work visa that will allow you to work in the US, and you
Mhm.
will file taxes like everybody else. And again, double taxation and all that. It's an accounting question, so I shouldn't be answering that question here. But to the best of my knowledge, if you're filing taxes in one place, you don't have to again file those taxes here as long as you declare it and show that you're filing the taxes. If there's any difference in the taxes, then you'll have to pay it. But
Mhm.
otherwise,
But you have to pay taxes. There is no
yeah,
exemption
we're
on that.
somewhere. Yeah, somewhere.
Mhm. All right, all right. That's for you, Arthur. And if you have more questions, we're still here. Post them in the comments, please. And moving on, let's take up Nitin's question on YouTube asking, retrieving data. Wait a few seconds and try to. Okay, let's take this one up. Nitin is asking, how do cultural differences and language barriers impact the integration of remote workers into new countries?
I don't think this is an immigration question. So I don't
But
want
remote
to.
working
Yeah, but
impact.
it's not about immigration. It's about cultural differences and language
Mhm.
barriers. So this is a good question, very good question, and we can talk a lot about it. But I'm not an expert in this area, so it wouldn't make sense for me to use up my time talking about this.
Right, right. Nitin, maybe some other question. Please post it about immigration, hopefully. Let's move on to Baldeep asking, what role do visa policies play in facilitating or hindering the ability of remote workers to live to
Live.
live and work abroad? Sorry.
Uh,
Going live all the time. I'm like
um,
live.
I know you're right. But what role do visa policies play in facilitating? So the ability to remote. If you're outside the country, basically the person is asking if you're outside the country, what? How does U.S. immigration affect you? It doesn't affect you at all. You are not in a U.S. immigration status or any immigration status related to the U.S. if you're not living in the U.S. So if you're
Mhm,
working and living abroad, um, nothing affects you with reference to US immigration. When you want to come into the US, that's when it's important to figure out what status you want to come in on.
mhm,
If you are intermittently working outside the country and you want to come into the US now and then you have to figure out what status is best for that. Like I was saying with Arthur, the B1 is good for just coming in to visit. But if you're actually
mhm,
working, then you might want to have a H1, but that H1 will not be throughout the year. But whenever you come into the country, you'll come in on a H1 and work, say, for a few months and then leave the country. And then you will have 6 years on your H1 doing that. So when you're outside the country, it doesn't count towards your 6 years term. Only your presence in the your physical presence in the US counts as time spent in the US on a H1B. So keep that in mind. That is one possible impact of working intermittently, perhaps, in the US and working the rest of the time outside the country.
Thank you, Prashanthi, for taking that up for Baldeep. And let's take up a few more. Prashanthi, I hope you have some time with us.
Yes, we should take up a few more because we lost some time.
Yes, we did. Let's take up Dexter asking, what challenges do remote workers face in navigating visa processes and immigration regulations? Okay.
I think we spoke about this at length. And it's a very broadly phrased question. So I can't answer this in a few minutes.
Yes.
But I will try and respond since I don't want to disappoint Dexter.
Okay.
There the challenges that are faced, and again, if you need more information, you should just watch the video on YouTube. But if
Mhm.
um, the challenges, I would say, is that you need to keep track of where you're working, especially if you're working from home. Make sure you inform your employer if there is a change in your home address, because then you might have to file an amended petition. It's
Mhm.
important that you maintain all your um, you follow all the rules, and don't think that simply because you're working out of home and not out of your office, you don't have rules that you need to follow. You need to post your LCA.
Mhm.
Also be aware that FTNS might visit your home, because that's now your place of work location, and they might check and see where you're working, and you know um, whether you have a workspace or not, whether you're actually working for that client or not. They might check your laptop, etc. So these are a few things to keep in mind when you're working remote, with reference to maintenance of your status.
Thank you. Thank you for taking that up for Dexter. And
Excuse me.
Dexter, yes, of course, you can. We had a glitch in between, but we had another stream on the same topic. If you can actually go and check that out, you will have more clarity on this question you've asked, because Prashanthi has already explained a lot about it. All right, so let's move ahead. Prashanthi, in the previous video, we had this one from a YouTube user asking, I'm on L1 expiring June 20. My wife is on L2 EAD ending December 2024. Can we stay on L2 EAD until December 2024? My wife got picked up in H1B lottery. What's best option for us to stay legally in the country and utilize my H1B starting October 2024?
So this person is on L1, and the L1 is expiring in June, very soon, and
Mhm.
their spouse has an L2, sorry, which is ending again in December, different from
December.
his expiry. Can we stay on L2 EAD until December 2024? Uh, so I'm not sure why the L1 and L2 end dates don't match. They're supposed to match. If you're not on L1, your spouse cannot then continue to be on L2. So I don't know why yours is ending in June and your wife's is in December. If you're not extending your L1, then your wife will not be on L2 and will not be on L2 EAD. So if you extend your L1 before it expires, then yes, your wife will continue to be on L2 EAD until December 2024, and then we'll have to apply an extension. So it make more sense to apply the extension when you're applying your extension, right? Since it's expiring in December. If your wife got picked up in the H1 lottery, what's the best option for us to stay legally in the country? Um, First, to stay legally in this country and utilize my H1B starting October 2024. Okay, so he didn't mention earlier that he's changing to a H1 in October. Uh, Yeah, it's a little confusing, your question, but and I have to guess here because there's some gaps. So if the L1 is expiring, looks like you filed for registration for a H1. So you will be in a H1, and you will get H1 approval as of October 2024, as you just stated in the last line of your question. Um, so obviously, then the wife will no longer be on an L2 EAD. Your wife will now have to change to a H4 and maybe a H4 EAD, or your wife will have to then file for a H1 independently and go on to a H1B. Whether a H4 is better than a H1, that is something to think
Wife
about.
already got
There are
picked up in
advantages and
H1B lottery.
yeah. So whether you want your wife to be on a H1 or you want your wife to be on a H4, that if your wife is working, I presume you want your wife to be on a H1, and you
Mhm.
may not qualify. Your wife may not qualify for H4 EAD because I'm presuming you haven't filed a green card. So there's so many questions here that are not answered. But yeah, if she's not able to be on a H4 EAD, then obviously there's no question of choice there. Then you will have to be on a H1, and your wife will have to be on H1 as well. So both of you, if you're working, both of you will have to file your H1 before June, before expiry. and both of you will be on a H1 as of October 1st, 2024. I hope that answers your
Okay.
question.
Yes. A little confusing because there's so many situations, I guess, and so many options for this couple, but hopefully they figure out the best option. So, all the best, I would say. All right, let's move on to Joel T asking, how do remote work policies differ between urban and rural areas, and how does this impact immigration patterns and policies?
Remote work doesn't differ between urban and rural areas. It's just that the prevailing wage might differ because the prevailing wage depends on the work location. So if you're in a rural area, it's possible that the wage is lesser. So
Hmm.
you will get paid a lesser amount of money because it depends on where your work location is, not which client you're working for or which employer is you're working for or where your employer is located.
Hmm. Okay, let's take up this one. It's a little similar, I think. Prabhu asking, I am on a non-US citizen currently living in US on an H-1B visa and working for a company that's open to remote work. If I switch to remote work, how will it affect my visa status? And what are the potential risks and benefits for my immigration status?
It doesn't affect your visa status. You will continue to remain in status. You just have to make sure that you follow all the guidelines set by USCIS with reference to posting, etc. And work location, salaries, etc.
Okay. We have Rajesh Ranjan saying hi on LinkedIn. Hi to you too, Rajesh, from us. And let's move on to this last question, I think, if it's fine with you. From Unnati on YouTube asking, do I need a US work visa to manage a US based team while working remotely for a UK company as an Indian citizen? That is.
Uh, uh, so US, yeah, we I think answered this, but let's answer it again. The You do not need US visa if you're not physically present in the US. Even if you're working for a US employer or if you're remotely managing a team in the US, you do not need a US visa. You just need to have a UK visa, a UK work
Okay.
permit, or whatever it is.
Mhm. Okay. So that is pretty simple for you then, Unnati. And maybe last but not the least, if you could just tell us about some complexities maybe people could face, while embracing remote work opportunities. Prashanthi.
Um, So the complexities could be, you would get a FTNS officer's visit at home, which is not pleasant. When a cop visits you at home, you're always scared, and you don't have um, the benefit of having your employer around to answer any questions or to back you up, and you are alone with that officer,
Mhm.
possibly. So that is definitely a disadvantage morally. You're afraid. So I would just, in this situation, prepare for such a thing so that you're not caught off guard. Talk with
Mhm.
your employer, find out what is what FTNS visit involves and what possible questions they can ask you, what you need to maintain, how you need to maintain it. If you're prepared for an FTNS visit, even if you're alone, you'll be confident and you will know exactly what to say to the officer and how to respond, and what potential questions they are that can be asked. So it's important. I think preparation is the key and knowledge is key here. So, remote work, that could happen. Also, you have to keep in mind when you move your address that, you notify your employer so that they can see if there is any impact to your visa, if an amendment needs to be filed, etc. Um, Also, with reference to green card, and I mentioned that once, we were mostly talking about H1, but with reference to green card also, if your work location was mentioned as your home location in your green card application, and if you move, you will have issues because then you will not be able to continue with that green card. You will not be able to file the I-140 because you'll have to do advertising again for the new work location. So that's a big problem for the green card. So with reference to green cards, I would say that your employer should always mention the green card work location as not your home location but the employer location. And they can always say that you will keep moving, changing work locations, uh, and not, and because it depends on the client where the client is. It's so you can just say um, travel or relocate to various work sites is the language I would use in your job description, so that you
Mhm.
can avoid this impacting your green card application, and you can
Right.
travel more freely. As long as you put travel as a requirement, then you will not have an issue with processing your green card even after you move your address. So these are, I think, a few things that I can think of that will impact your immigration status if you're working remotely from home, basically.
True.
And as I said, you have to mention remote working in the green card application. uh, you have to mention your home location in your H1 application as your work site. So there are a few things that need to be done, but and done correctly, and you have to be aware of them. But otherwise, it's not an issue working remotely.
Okay. Okay, well, Prashant, I was just going to wind up, but then remember hello, hi earlier,
Yeah,
and he's just saying, just to clarify my previous question, my L1 is not going to be extended as my wife is changing to H1B. Can I change to H4? When can I change to H4? When
yeah.
can I
You
file for an H4? Yeah.
so it's very important to remember that you have to file the H4 along with your wife's H1. Otherwise, you will fall out of status. So
Mm.
everything has to be done together: the H1, the H4, and H4 EAD if you qualify for it. Uh, Everything has to be filed together.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. And I think with that, we end today's program, today's show. And it's a wrap for today's episode on immigration and jobs talk show, friends. And I'd like to say thank you to our guest, Attorney Prashanthi Reddy, once again, for sharing your valuable insights with us today, Prashanthi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nipasa. Bye.
Have a great day ahead and hope to see you soon, maybe next week then.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
Okay. Okay. Then bye bye. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends, and thank you all you folks and viewers out there for joining us. It was there was a glitch in between, but even more, I would like to thank you because you stayed with us, you stuck with us, and you joined us here as well. So, if you have any more questions, also, you could contact me directly. You could write to me and email me in my email address. That is at nipa@highrightypeople.com, and you could even call me in the number 408-335-6444, and my details are displayed on the screen. And also thank you so much once again. If you have more questions, don't forget to keep commenting, because even after the live show has ended, we would love to take up your questions and very happy to reach out to you for sure. So Prashanthi, thank you once again. It was an absolute pleasure having you on our show. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, all you viewers, also for tuning in wherever you had joined us from, whether on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Well, thank you once again. And yes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content on immigration and job opportunities as well. So until next time, then you all take care, stay informed, and good day, everyone. Stay with us, okay? Bye bye.